Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shulshamir Tor for TVS Nightline. We begin with the headlines tonight. Sarawak is scheduled to receive the single-shot CANSINO vaccine on September 21 and 22. The vaccine, which is seen suitable, will be administered in rural areas, especially the Penan community.
Tapi tidak banyak because kita, you see, when we are informed that there are a single dose vaccine, initially we are thinking of not giving vaccine to the interior. But then when we look at the level of supply at that time, we never know when this CANSINO is coming. And I think we make a good decision. Otherwise, quite a lot of area in the interior belum dapat vaksin. Sekarang memang udah very high percentage. I think easily 90% the interior have been given. But some
Earlier, the vaccine was approved by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, NPRA. In other developments, UGA reminded local communities come hand in hand in the fight against COVID-19 and not fully relying towards the government. Hence, the community should also be aware that the virus is here to stay and they should be ready to live with it as the nation transitions into the endemic phase. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health MOH will consider in giving the booster dose to CANSINO vaccine recipients. The matter was made after an application was submitted to the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency (NPRA) stating the possible need for a second dose after 6 months.
Jadi kita akan pantau data daripada negara-negara lain yang telah menggunakan CANSINO, dan kalau didapati bahawa mereka juga memberi dos yang kedua untuk vaksin dos tunggal ini selepas 6 bulan, kita akan mempertimbangkannya. Salah satu perkara yang positif berkenaan dengan CANSINO ni, kita dah ada kilang di Malaysia yang membotolkan CANSINO. Jadi dari segi bekalan CANSINO ni tidak akan menjadi masalah untuk kerajaan mendapat perolehan untuk CANSINO ataupun Sinovac pun kita ada kilang juga di Pamaniaga.
Commenting further, Khairi assured that the vaccine supplies are adequate and that the ministry is ready to distribute booster shots to the public by October. On the other hand, Malaysian lawmakers will be discussing the possibility of allowing interstate travel to boost the domestic tourism as part of its effort to expedite the recovery of the country's tourism industry. And that once a decision is reached in Parliament, the matter will be announced by the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry.
Bila interstate itu dibuka, maka orang luar boleh masuk juga. Kita telah senaraikan. Okay, we have listed down nama-nama destinasi bukan saja pulau, termasuk mainland tu, macam Genting, Cameron, Highlands, Fraser's Hill, dan juga apa-apa lagi destinasi yang boleh menarik minat orang untuk bergerak, sebab pelancongan is all about mobility dengan izin. Apabila mereka bergerak, maka ekonomi kita juga boleh meningkat. Itu yang kita nak.
Nancy added few other destinations will be listed under interstate tourism nationwide. She was responding to a supplementary question from Syed Sadiq Syed Abdul Rahman, Independent Muar, who asked the government to open up more domestic travel bubbles and not only focusing on resort islands to assist industry players affected by COVID-19. So far, the government has allowed intrastate tourism activities for states under Phase 2 and above of the National Recovery Plan for fully vaccinated individuals, while the Langkawi Domestic Tourism Bubble pilot project started on September 16.
A few days have passed since Langkawi was announced as the first travel bubble in Malaysia. Many speculated that the next travel bubble to be activated is Sarawak. But are our tourism key players ready to accept tourists? Let's get some insights from our reporter, Muhammad Yusuf.
Thank you, Cheryl. Now, as you may know, Langkawi has seen great success since it was activated as the first travel bubble in Malaysia, receiving about 3,200 domestic tourists just last Thursday. Some 2,200 tourists traveled via air, while the remainder traveled by land and ferry. Now, we've had inputs from major tourism key players right here in Sarawak on how well prepared they are to, receive tourists if Sarawak is to be designated as the next travel bubble. Let's hear it from them.
So in terms of preparedness, I think Sarawak, we are prepared because in Malaysia, Sarawak has one of the highest vaccination rates, and all our stakeholders, our tourism players, from those in the hotels, employees in hotels, restaurants, our guides, our tourism agencies, the drivers, and all, they have been vaccinated. Understand as well that our Sarawak Ministry of Tourism is actually keenly observing what is happening in Langkawi. And in terms of packages in Sarawak, we have our Siasito, actually is in version 2 now. Siasito version 1 was very successful. So just if you are not aware, Siasito is actually a whole range of domestic packages throughout Sarawak, from the southern region right up till the Limbang. Now that the mandatory quarantine for people coming from West Malaysia has been lifted, I mean, those with two jabs, as long as they've had 2 vaccinations, they do not have to go through the mandatory 14-day quarantine. So that actually is a great help. And I think that will also encourage a lot of visitors from West Malaysia to come to Sarawak.
Audrey added that the Sarawak Tourism Federation is constantly in touch with the state's tourism ministry to provide feedback from the private tourism industry players. If issues arise, the ministry will engage with industry players. She also explained that several guidelines made by the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) were difficult, but nonetheless was implemented to contain the virus from spreading.
So of course, this is the new norm. People have to get used to it, and we have to ensure that we comply with the new procedures. People don't like change, but we have to do it. So.
Meanwhile, for the director of Amoga Tours and Travel, Ashwin Narayanan, travel agencies are ready to accept tourists.
But in essence, like, we have already sort of been operational for domestic travel. So automatically, when we are opening our doors for those from West Malaysia or outside of Sarawak to come into Sarawak to travel, most of the players are sort of kind of ready already. Most of our resources are sort of on standby, and we've learned to be very, very lean in order to streamline lah. Well, we understand that we do have to follow these rulings and follow how we go about this first, but there was a little bit of like a struggle for us to sort of find the right balance when we were first given the SOPs, and at the same time that we were already told to start activating and running the the Siasito tours, which are internal, which are within Sarawak itself. We just felt that the tourism sector, or the tourism industry, especially the industry players, knowing that during the pandemic we are very much struggling, obviously, days. So we're still trying to find ways to stay relevant and stuff like that. So during times like this, understanding our difficulties probably is a good thing to also have something of like a discourse or like a discussion with the stakeholders and the industry players as well.
As for Oscar Chu, the deputy chairman of Sarawak's Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agents MATA, there is a need to revamp the current tourism SOPs.
Our SDMC has done an excellent job in protecting the interests of the state. However, we do need to revamp our current tourism SOP to be more friendly and effective at the same time. It needs to suit not just current needs, but also when the tourism sector eventually reopens, and when Sarawak is pursuing the travel bubble program. Okay, we would like to be part of their team to collaborate, and then also to perhaps make up, to be the team which helps to implement the SOP. Because on their part itself, I'm pretty sure they will not understand the current needs and wants of the travel industry. At the end of the day, we want to ensure the recovery of the tourism and business events industry while socially ensuring that both sectors are organized responsibly.
Muhammad Yusuf Shukri for TVS.
Malaysia has unveiled its Bamboo Industry Development Action Plan 2021 to 2030 to empower the country as a producer of bamboo-based products and exporter. Under the 5 strategic thrusts, policy strengthening and resource expansion, human resources and capital development, strengthening innovation, technology and research development, commercialization, quality assurance and marketing strategies and partnerships would enable Malaysia to be a major player in export of the said products to counter demands in the ASEAN region, namely China, Indonesia, Thailand and other parts of the world.
Minister of Plantation Industries and Commodities, Dato' Zuraida Kamaruddin said, in line with the 10th World Bamboo Day, WBD 2021, each activity planned for this year aims at bringing awareness to the public on the potential of the eco-friendly material in boosting the country's economic growth. Zuraida pointed out that the value of bamboo-based products from Malaysia is still low when compared with other countries. In 2020, a decrease of 10% was found when compared to the year 2019.
Malaysia mempunyai lebih kurang 70 spesies buluh dan 45 daripada spesies tersebut merupakan spesies tempatan yang tumbuh secara semula jadi di kawasan hutan liar. Dari segi taburan penanaman, sebanyak 31% tanaman buluh terdapat di semenanjung Malaysia, 45% di Sarawak dan 24% di Sabah. Nilai ekspor produk buluh adalah bernilai 8.28 juta. Walaupun dari segi sumbangan nilai ekspor produk ini tidak besar jika dibandingkan dengan produk-produk perkayuan lain, namun ia merupakan sebahagian daripada sumber pendapatan utama kepada penduduk luar bandar.
She said this when officiating the event held virtually in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic today. Additionally, in conjunction with Malaysia Day on September 16th, 100 bamboo planting took place simultaneously nationwide. Commenting further, she noted that currently there are 577 entrepreneurs in the bamboo-based industry, which includes bamboo boards, furniture, construction, textiles, plantations, food, charcoal, and handicraft. They are mostly the small and medium industries located in areas with abundant bamboo resources. Meanwhile, the Ministries of Plantation and Industries and Commodities, KPPK, through the Malaysian Timber Industry Board, MTIB, will continue to provide easy loan facilities for bamboo cultivation under the Forest Plantation Development Program, PPLS.
Dalam menghadapi kekurangan sumber bahan mentah buluh, kerajaan telah mengambil inisiatif dengan pelaksanaan program pembangunan ladang buluh. KPPK melalui MTIB telah menyediakan kemudahan pinjaman mudah bagi penanaman buluh di bawah program pembangunan ladang hutan untuk memastikan bekalan sumber bahan mentah buluh yang berterusan.
Under the 12th Malaysia Planned 12 MP, the Bamboo Community Farming Program is scheduled to end in 2025.
And now on to the next update. A 49-year-old man was charged with 3 construction fraud charges framed under Section 420 of the Penal Code at the Magistrates Court earlier today. The accused, identified as Ho Wee Kiang, pleaded not guilty for all 3 charges before Magistrate Zaiton Anwar. He was granted bail amounting to 7,500 ringgit but have failed to pay them.
According to the case facts, the accused pitched for renovation works to his victims in December last year. Once payment were made via online, none of the construction works took place, which caused a total loss of 97,000 ringgit. Currently, he is remanded in the Puncak Borneo jail. If found guilty, Ho will be convicted under Section 420 of the Penal Code, which carries a jail time of not less than 1 year and not more than 10 years, a whip, and a fine. His pre-trial case management is set on October 21.
那个店是我爸爸妈妈创立的，1986年创立，第一间是在加兰沙多。
那个是第一间，到现在还有。第一天开店的时候才做67块7啊。
从我接手以来，我们就有一个想法，我们想要把不一样的带出来给大家。
10年前跟10年后的大家不一样啊。
我刚刚进来的时候，大概还是一个比较传统的蛋糕店哦，跟现在相比有吗？现在已经转型了，非常的多。
Welcome back to the Nightline. Vaccine centres or PPVs will be accepting both walk-ins and appointment basis to administer COVID-19 vaccine to teenagers in its move to expedite the immunisation programme for the said group aged 12 to 17.
Kita juga akan umumkan beberapa PPV yang sedia ada, yang sedang beroperasi. Untuk remaja-remaja dibenarkan untuk walk-in ke PPV yang sedia ada. Alang-alang PPV kita masih lagi beroperasi, kita akan umumkan besok senarai PPV di negeri-negeri yang mana golongan remaja boleh pergi untuk mendapat vaksin mereka secara walk-in di PPV tertentu. Besok kita akan umumkan PPV tersebut. Jadi ada dua kaedah, sama ada menunggu tarikh daripada sekolah yang akan menjadi PPV ataupun boleh pergi ke mana-mana PPV ataupun PPV yang akan dikenal pasti supaya dapat dilaksanakan secara walk-in.
The announcement was well received by those in the age group in easing the process to be vaccinated.
Perasaan saya lepas saya ambil vaksin adalah saya rasa sangat lega dan saya rasa lebih berkeyakinan untuk keluar dan saya hilang rasa risau saya untuk kena jangkitan COVID. And saya agak gembira lah sebab saya boleh bercakap dengan kawan-kawan saya sekarang dan saya hanya tinggal 1 dos lagi.
Gembiralah juga kerana finally dapat vaksin tu. Nunggu kita juga lama tapi at least ada benda untuk make sure tahu kita boleh rasa selamat.
Parents too have expressed confidence at sending their children back to school, knowing for a fact that they are now vaccinated.
Jadi bila dia telah divaksin, insya-Allah lah kami rasa lebih selamat kalau kami keluar dan kita tidak risau dia akan terjangkit apabila kita yang ada vaksin ini balik ke rumah. Dan yang paling penting dia boleh datang ke sekolah apabila sekolah dibuka untuk belajar dan menjalani persekolahan seperti biasa.
Kita tunggu-tunggulah yang 17 tahun ni untuk vaksin sebab kita tahu kan vaksin ni salah satu cara untuk kita inilah salah satu pencegahan vaksin COVID-19 walau bagaimanapun masih kena jaga SOP tapi at least ada pencegahan awal lah.
Meanwhile, everyone have been urged to cooperate in addressing the increasing trend of COVID-19 cases in Sarawak. Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan said one of the ways to render one's cooperation by making full use of the vaccination program, calling those who had not had their vaccine should get it at nearby hospitals or outreach programs. As of now, 94.9% from the 32,000 adult population in Lawas district had been vaccinated. 95.05% from the 1,001 teenager aged 16 to 17 years old that registered for the vaccine in the district had received their first dose. Therefore, the Limbang Division Disaster Management Committee will establish a COVID-19 assessment center in the district.
COVID Assessment Center ini akan beroperasi setiap hari termasuk cuti umum dan hujung minggu daripada pukul 8 pagi hingga pukul 5 petang. Dan ini ialah bertujuan untuk memberi ruang kepada pesakit-pesakit yang memerlukan rawatan di KRC dan mereka ini yang di kuarantin di rumah
As for COVID-19 patients that undergo quarantine order at home, they will be fully monitored by the Health Ministry. In a similar development, the decision to administer COVID-19 vaccine booster shots should undergo clinical trial to ensure its effectiveness, whereby only selected groups are to be inoculated. Dr. Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, who is also State Disaster Management Committee member, said the shots should only be administered to individuals with health condition and are advised to receive it.
Buatkan, tapi sebelum arahan ataupun tindakan tersebut dibuat, saya berharap pihak yang berwajib melihat secara mendalam keperluannya dan lihat juga sama ada booster dose itu boleh membawa mudarat ataupun membawa kebaikan. Karena bagi saya lah apa yang dapat saya lihat daripada apa yang berlaku di Sarawak dengan vaksinasi yang pertama dan yang kedua, yang mana kita adalah antara negeri yang paling tinggi mencapai vaksinasi. We have done a very good job dan daripada kes-kes yang kita lihat itu, walaupun yang nampak tinggi, 99.9%-nya adalah kategori 1 dan kategori 2.
Karim also opined that the COVID-19 vaccine booster shot should be given to the high-risk group and individuals with comorbidities.
Hanya apabila kita dijangkiti, ya tidaklah begitu memudaratkan kecuali kita dalam golongan-golongan yang tua ataupun kita golongan yang mempunyai penyakit seperti obes, high blood, gout, diabetik. Kalau kita dalam kategori itu, berarti kita terpaksa extra care menjaga kesihatan kita sendiri supaya kalau kena pun tidak terus melarat kita masuk ke kategori 3, 4 dan 5. Terima kasih. Dah bunyi doktor dah saya.
And now on to the COVID-19 development. A worrying trend of infections among those aged below 18 years old has been reported by the Health Ministry. Based on statistics, the surge in death toll among this age group is of concern, with 67 COVID-19 fatalities involving children this year, as compared to only 6 fatalities during the same period last year. Thereby, the ministry aims to complete the vaccination program towards eligible teenagers before school reopens in 2022.
Another downward trend of COVID-19 have been recorded today, with 14,345 cases, bringing the cumulative number to 2,112,175. Sarawak is still currently the state that contributed the most cases with 3,611, followed by Johor 1,598 and Selangor 1,365. Meanwhile, 16,814 patients recovered from the disease, increasing the country's recovery rate slightly to 89%. In Sarawak, Kuching district continues to record the highest cases with 1,021, followed by Serian with 315 and Bintulu with 302. Of the total cases reported in the state today, 8 cases or 0.22% were in category 3, 4 and 5. The state cumulative number of cases now stands at 183,407. At the same time, 8 new fatalities reported due to COVID-19 from September 14 to September 18. 4 new COVID-19 clusters, all involving longhouses, detected in the state today. The clusters are Sungai Separai 2 cluster in Tatau, Jalan Bintulu Miri 3 cluster in Bintulu, Chama Ajai cluster in Beluru, and Ulu Lubai cluster in Limbang. However, 2 clusters has ended, dubbed the Kandis Pantu cluster in Sri Aman and Sungai Serindak cluster in Selangau. No cases were reported there in the past 28 days. There are now 138 active clusters, being 20 of them recorded, an additional 219 new cases.
I believe that if anyone has the longing to explore a new experience and craft in life. One must take that chances and see where it leads you. You may excel, and you may also hit the wall in the process. But the lessons learned will be the greatest teacher. Let the Meridian and Sarawakian have more healthier bread in bakery.
Thank you for staying with me. And now on to world affairs. As the pandemic hit the global economy, many taxi drivers in Bangkok, Thailand, have abandoned the service and left the city's hectic streets quiet, putting taxi drivers out of work. One company has decided to use the roofs of the idle vehicles as small vegetable plots, which they hope can help to feed out-of-work drivers and other employees. In a car park, green shoots sprout from the roofs of colorful taxis. Workers at the Racha Pruak Taxi Cooperative built the miniature gardens by stretching black bean liners across bamboo frames and covering them with soil. The cabs now sports vegetables like chilies, holy basil, eggplant, spring onion, among other vegetables which they hope can help feed out-of-work drivers, employees and families. It is hoped that after helping the drivers, any leftover food can be sold at local markets. The taxi trade in Bangkok normally relies heavily on tourism, but tight restrictions on entering the country means it has almost come to a standstill. Thick clouds of smoke billowed from the hillside of an erupting volcano on Spain's La Palma island on September 20th, forcing the evacuation of about 5,000 people. The volcano erupted on September 19, shooting lava hundreds of meters into the air, engulfing houses and forests and sending molten rock towards the Atlantic Ocean over a sparsely populated area of La Palma, the most northwestern island in the Canaries archipelago. La Palma had been high alert for an eruption after more than 22,000 tremors were reported in the space of a week in Cumbre Vieja, which belongs to a chain of volcanoes that last had a major eruption in 1971 and is one of the most active volcanic regions in the Canaries. No fatalities have been reported and 20 houses were engulfed in the village of El Paso along with sections of roads. The lava was spreading through neighboring villages, putting hundreds of houses at risk. So far, the lava flow has destroyed about 100 houses. It was unclear what path the lava would take to reach the ocean, and authorities had evacuated people with mobility issues from several coastal towns, including the popular beach resort of Puerto Naos. And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. And as always, thank you for tuning in to your local news tonight. Here with me, Shortra Metro, and I'll see you next time. Have a good morning.
Hello everyone, I'm Iki. Guess what? Rhythm Borneo will be back for its brand new season, so be sure to check out new episodes of Rhythm Borneo every Saturday, 3 p.m. only on TVS Channel 122 Astro as well as MyTV. See you guys there!